we think we are so important. We think we have so much command and power in our hand. And that's part of the illusion that makes our life very difficult. We are so insignificant. One day we're going to close our eyes and we're going to open them again. And we don't know when is that going to be.
Welcome to the 𝗷𝗄𝗆 podcast. I'm your host, Rayhan Aleem. I'm also the founder of 𝗷𝗄𝗆 Partners, a bookkeeping business based in Dubai, and TaxStar, a tax technology startup automating corporation tax returns. Join me on each episode as we talk to inspiring Dubai-based entrepreneurs who share their stories, challenges, and secrets on building world-class businesses. I'm pleased to have Shadi on the show today. Shadi is a co-founder of SEVA Experience and he's a long-time Dubai resident. Shadi, I'm super excited to have you on the show today. We've had lots of conversations, not just about accounts, but deep into lots of different other things as well. And I really wanted to bring you on the show and kind of get the world to hear your insights and what you've learned and what you've been through as well. We do a bit of business and then we do a bit of kind of self-development, because our target is entrepreneurs. So for those who don't know you, do you want to give us a quick introduction about yourself? You was born here. Not born here, sorry. You grew up here.
I was born here.
Oh, you was born here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you was born here and you've had a lot of your experience here, whether it's growing up at school, corporate, setting up a business. So tell us about you.
Let's start backward for a change. I'm a bodywork therapist. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher, and I'm the co-founder of SEVA Experience, a plant-based cafe and an ecology of humans, a wellness center, yoga studio, and carbon-based life form, to say the least. Human being. All these labels and titles keep changing in time. Yeah, I come from corporate background. For 16 years in financial and payment solutions. And at the moment, I am fully immersed in the SEVA Experience.
Nice. And you obviously grew up here, you worked here, and then you set up you co-founded a wellness cafe. Tell us about your kind of early experience of being in Dubai. And you could have gone to other places to work or study or to do an entrepreneur. But what made you stay in Dubai to continue your journey here?
It's very easy to say I had made clear decisions or it was in my horizon. As a matter of fact, my direct family, my siblings my sister is in Holland, my brother is in the US. From my direct family, I'm the only one who stays here, So it was just the natural movement of life. I grew up here. I studied here. Even in my corporate career, I traveled to more countries than my years on this planet. I had a venture in South America for a period of time. And no matter what, there was always an anchor in Dubai. It feels home. It is home. There's a connection with the land. There's a connection that is not very poetic or nostalgic. It's just real. And I honor it. Maybe tomorrow will be a different day with different objectives and goals and strategies. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, let's see what happens indeed. I want to go back to SEVA. So you're the co-founder of SEVA. We've worked with you for quite a number of years, and it's been great experience going through that journey with you as well. You with Edda set up a wellness business, which also factored in plant-based restaurant cafe, great food, obviously, as well as selling items as well. That's related within what you do. Now, I remember that being one of the early wellness centers in Dubai. So you're probably one of the OGs of having a wellness center. And now you see them everywhere. And so you was kind of like the trendsetter. So what kind of got you to and Eda to think about setting something up like that in Dubai, and kind of having a plant-based restaurant? You know, given the fact that in Dubai, most places you see a burger joint everywhere nowadays, right? How did you see that envision happening in Dubai? And now you see more and more vegan options and you know, a lot more yoga studios and wellness centers. What made you envision to set up here when no one else was doing it?
I'll try to answer and address all the points. Firstly, I acknowledge that our partnership and collaboration and work has been a major pillar in sustaining the business. And I am very, very grateful for our friendship and our business relationship, which was very, very supportive, especially at the times of the difficult period of COVID. So that is something that, in the star map always. We didn't know better, to say the least. We were playing. It was our way of living. It was the way that we were expressing our way of integrating with the constellation of life. Prior to SEVA, or even Life in One, before SEVA, I was practicing yoga. I was plant-based. I was curious about what's it like to be a human being and all the esoteric deep dive. And that was at times where even resources and access to knowledge was very, very limited. And then the co-creation of SEVA, or Life in One prior to SEVA, was sustained by the little interaction from those who were resonating, a minority in the community, I must say, until in 2017, we had won a competition with Cambridge University in the UK, the MBA school. And it was a competition about pitching a topic, a business model, and the winning application would get a number of their students to come and execute this research, which was simply studying the wellness landscape in the Middle East. So it was quite an eye-opener. We have been competing with big brands. We're talking about Coca-Cola and large-scale multinational organizations. And little did we know that we had no idea what we were doing as a business. The branding was terrible. The identity was confusing. Our understanding of the SWOT analysis was completely off the grid. So that gave us an anchor to just have a reality check. And then we put it aside and we continued doing what we're doing. And at some point, honoring the community, honoring our people, honoring the supporters, we said it's time to up the game. And we went through an up-branding venture for 18 months. And at some point through the process, we realized that we are actually unaware, aligning with the recommendations that came from that research from MBA students. And we did a massive up-branding. And prior to that, I would say Life in One used to be called Healing Center, which we dropped, and we coined the name Experience. And there is a very clear and precise reason for that at that time. And then in March 2020, we launched SEVA 3 days before the lockdown. And then we had to shut down for nearly a year, which was very, very difficult. And we only had the opportunity for the brand to express itself late 2020. As OGs and as the original players in this field, I acknowledge there were a handful of centers in this field. As a cafe, we are the first plant-based cafe that is gluten-free and cane sugar-free in the Middle East since 2014. And again, it was the way of us expressing the way we live and our values and virtues, more than trying to penetrate a market niche, which only surfaced as a niche later on. COVID was a blessing in disguise. It was very difficult for us, and in ways directly and indirectly, we sustained the year. And then the explosion of this market was nothing but a response to the necessities people expressed about looking after themselves. That hard reset, in a way, made people more aware about their priorities. Health, education, connection, contact was something overlooked in the day-to-day activities of everybody. So we scaled very, very fast. We were less than 8 people, 6 or 7 people, and now we are nearly 40 people. And that explosion came rapidly. We didn't understand how to sustain it. We learned along the way, it's almost like jumping from plane and building the parachute on the way. And as you mentioned today, every backyard and every corner and every patio is offering something in what we jokingly call the spiritual supermarket. Today, it's very confusing and confused as the way we see it. We were part of it, and at the same time, we don't see ourselves as trendsetters nor trend followers. We simply are completely dropping the trend from our own formula. When we express ourselves, we express it out of values and out of our understanding of the ecology that we are part of, rather than trying to gain and catch on to low-hanging fruits or quick wins. Of course, we need to play the game in order to be relatable to the masses, which was very challenging in order to sustain values and integrity in the way we offer things, and at the same time speak the language of the market.
So I guess this was more, you went into the business, you initially started off with an analytical kind of review of what's going on in the Middle East, but it was actually more of a passion project that you really enjoyed doing and you was part of, that helped you grow and sustain the business as a result.
Yeah, the passion is there every day. And I must say today we see it more of a purpose and a mission. I wouldn't say I know my purpose on this planet. I would say rather we respond to the natural movement of the environment around us.
Tell us some stories about, you obviously set up the first plant-based cafe. What was the first kind of reactions that you got? And do you have any examples of where someone came in and they were like, I'm a meat eater, or I don't know what veganism is, and they then became a vegan, or they changed their lifestyle as a result?
I'll bring some clarification on a few things. Even though we are a plant-based cafe, technically, we don't use the term vegan, simply because veganism is a movement and it's beyond what you consume and you eat. It's a belief system. It's a way of positioning yourself. And we've seen that it is beyond what we are expressing. So we didn't want to carry a label or wear a hat bigger than what we are doing. At the same time, we are not in the business of promoting people to convert from whatever diet they are into plant-based. The way we see it is not even, we're doing our best even not to mention the word plant-based, but it's tricky in the way we are being labeled by community, by social media, by PR and marketing and so on. What's important for us is the connection with Earth, the connection with the elements, the connection with the seasons, and the connection with ourselves. I believe there is no perfect diet. Every part of the world has its own way. Even when we talk about health, I believe it's very subjective, and there is the research about the long-lasting humans on the planet, the blue zones. None of them is plant-based. None of them is vegan. It's a tiny little piece in the big puzzle of the way you live. There is the social interactions, there is the emotional stability, and the environmental aspects, and so on and so forth. So our message is more about being plant forward and soil aware and connecting with the process. We are whole food cafe. Everything is made from scratch, and this is something that is way more important than being vegan or plant-based or whatnot. And we simply drop down some of the allergens and some of the elements like the cane sugar and the gluten as a way to make it as clean as possible within our capacity. We aim at being locally sourced as much as possible and seasonal as much as possible, which is also challenging to be in Dubai.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But we do our best. And the intention is to be transparent and clean and clear. And as a matter of fact, as you also know, it's not about only the food. It's the overall sensory experience, the garden, the ambience, the texture, the sound, the scent. So we design the environment to give you a holistic experience where what you eat is only a small part of it. But of course, we have a wonderful, wonderful culinary expert, Kiki, our chef, and our dear friend and family. She's been with us from the beginning. She's spearheading the cafe now, in-house, back office, front office. She understands SEVA completely, and she feels into it literally under the skin. As a matter of fact, she just graduated as a therapist last weekend.
Oh, wow. So she's going to be one of your therapists as well now.
Yes, that's a topic that is going to be also revealed in the near future. But it was a big ride this last 12 months where she completed the main pillar, the bodywork therapy, 𝗵𝗵𝘁 method training. And the transformation was radical as witnessing her. But at the same time, it was wonderful to witness, since she is a chef who uses her hands and fingers technically above and beyond the average person today with computers and screens and so on.
Yeah.
Her expression with the bodywork was completely outstanding. Yeah. So Kiki leads the cafe. We align, and we are all very, very passionate about what we express as offerings. And in a way, for those who are not into this kind of diet or way of eating, the invitation is have a meal a day or have a day a week. See how it feels. Most of the time when we look at...
Not just have an avocado on toast every time you come in, right?
when you come by. Well, the idea here is, if we look at all diets, you know, everybody goes into one of these popular diets today, and they gain some benefits. And that's when they start swearing by it. I believe any clean diet starts with elimination. When we eliminate the noise, we feel the value. And again, I don't claim that we are holding the perfect diet. What we offer is something very clean. We look at the process end to end, and we aim at making it as alive as possible, as aesthetically, visually appealing as possible, and as delicious as possible. Texture and food taste is very, very important. We don't compromise. If we can make it taste amazing, it's not on the menu.
I think you need to get a Michelin star at least at some point.
It's on the list. It's on the list of topics that we will give it priority very, very soon. We've heard so many remarks and feedbacks from well-seasoned people in being gastronomy consumers, and we believe we just need to put it on our horizon very, very soon. And yeah.
Yep. No. Look forward to it. Look forward to that day. I want to go back to the days when you was in corporate, and the days when you were also working on SEVA as well, and on top of that being a Kundalini yoga trainer, and amongst other things, you're doing loads of other things as well. So obviously, I know you as someone who just keeps yourself busy constantly. And then obviously, you have your breaks, and we'll talk about your breaks later on. But one of the common themes that we have here is a lot of the entrepreneurs who come here, they were in corporate and then they moved to set up the business. My journey is the same as well. I was in corporate and I set up a business when I moved to Dubai. Now, I was with you in the trenches at the time, right? Because we used to have our meetings once a week. And you were obviously juggling multiple things. How were you able to cope working in and your job wasn't it was a highly demanding job, right? How were you able to cope running a business and maintaining the business and growing the business? And at what point did you say to yourself, okay, I need to quit my business and do this full time? What were the kind of trigger points for you?
I've been reflecting on this in the past several months, as a matter of fact. First and foremost, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to have had the chance to be in that career path. I joined the corporate world at a very, very high end and a very serious field in the payment solutions since I was 22 years old. As a matter of fact, I only had one ride, but with multiple journeys within the big organization. I learned a lot, and I would say even before that, I always realized that extremes have been substantial part of the way I live. I grew up in martial arts. I was into extreme sports, and then the way I would deal with every day was through extremes. So if it wasn't for two jobs, probably it would be something else to keep me busy and put that intensity into the way I interact with my environment. I paid prices. I paid prices into that affected my health, that affected my social life, affected my priorities. But at the same time, I kept going. To say how is mere resilience. And at the same time, perhaps, again, I didn't know better. We think we have command and power, and we look at others who achieve things, and we think sometimes that they have abilities we don't have. But at the same time, especially through the past years of being in the therapy field and having receivers who are on a world-class high achievers, you realize that the broken pieces in us motivate us to express ourselves in what seems to be superior. But at the same time, it's a need. We don't pay attention to the subtleties of our needs to validate and be validated. Sometimes it's survival need that can seem to be a great achievement, but internally it's a chaos. So I did what I could do best over the years. And like I said, it took a toll on me. Sometimes I reflect, even within SEVA, like you mentioned, we are a cafe, we are a wellness center, we are a retail store. 3 verticals that are completely different. If we even took one and go deeper into them, perhaps we would be in a different ballgame, you know? So it was not easy to juggle internally within SEVA at the same time having that parallel field. But if I would reflect on one thing, I can only say we don't know what we're capable of doing. The capacities within us are beyond our comprehension. Would I do it back again? Perhaps. You know, do I want to do it?
Though, right?
Pardon?
You'd probably be a bit more measured.
I don't know. I love risks, and I like to be honest, the more I look around me today, especially that now we are in the field for 11 years, we have plenty of data. You know, our clients, our facilitators, our own selves, and the evolution of what we go through. We think we know. I believe we are governed by so many layers of belief systems, conditionings, and unconscious, unaware expressions that make us be who we are.
Yeah. And what made you make that? What triggered you to make that move?
It was
full time as an entrepreneur.
It was withering. It was withering. It wasn't like an aha moment or a flip overnight.
Yeah.
It wasn't black and white. It was in a way similar to how we upbranded from Life and went to SEVA over 18 months. It was beyond a year-long process. I faded, and my interest was not in the previous priority anymore. And at the same time, SEVA was demanding a lot from my time and my attention. I remember being in one of our sales kickoff in somewhere in Europe, being on the phone. I mean, when with my corporate responsibilities, on the phone while we were doing the construction and the branding across continents, across overseas, trying to sort things out remotely. And I realized at that time, it doesn't make sense. I am not being fair to myself, nor to either of the two responsibilities.
Yeah.
So it started to fade away. And towards end of 2020, SEVA became my top priority as work and career-wise.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I also want to talk about, some of the things you've been through as an entrepreneur as well. One of the things I want to touch upon is one thing that strikes me when I go to the cafe is you and Edda had a very high sense of detail in terms of the business, the way you run it, the way you look at the menu, look at the way the look and feel and experience is when you go into the center. And for me, that's a very important trait to have as a successful entrepreneur, to be able to look at the finer details and be able to keep improving, keep that experience refreshed. Looking into the finer details can be taught in such a way, but sometimes it's just inherent. How do you approach, what's your thought process when you're looking at the business and you're looking at, okay, how can I make these changes in my business to then make it more and more world-class, more and more a business that continues to grow, continues to be stronger? How do you take the looking at the finer details part of it, and what's your thought process behind that?
It feels very strange to be called an entrepreneur. I know in certain context this is a title. I never dreamt of it. I never imagined I'll be in where I am today. It just happened. Yeah. But in terms of the expression of what we do at SEVA, I would say the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Just yesterday, I got more than 40 plants into my little own personal space. That's a major. I have more than 50 plants in a very, very small space. And I was just looking at, why am I doing this? I like details. I like witnessing nature and life. And even if people see Dubai as artificial space or full of glitters or lacking nature, I would say the waterfront is nature, the desert is nature. If I have one ability, I would say I notice things. That's one thing I'm skilled at. Since younger years, I was into street photography, watching the environment around me like a flaneur. And today, I would say, when I look at SEVA, we were playing. Sometimes we play like kids, and sometimes we play seriously. But then we are governed by our values and virtues. So we remove our little self out of the way. We express for a faraway horizon. We're not into low-hanging fruits. We're not into chasing trends. We're not into pleasing everybody. It needs to be meaningful. Aesthetics are very important from me personally. I appreciate beauty, and we are inspired by nature. Many people come and say, "Wow, this is like Bali." I've never been to Bali. We've never been to Bali. I love nature. I go to the mountains. I go to the jungle, but we have never been in the process of replicating something that already exists. I believe we have so much within us to express. If we look at all the original artists, if we call them original, great, but everything is a remix.
Yep.
So how do we orchestrate our expression in a way? So when it comes to the aesthetics and the details, as you mentioned, it's us doing our best to express our best. No shortcuts, no compromises.
So what I heard is, obviously you're not trying to copy something else. You're trying to be yourself. And it's, from what I heard, what you said, it's more for you. It comes more natural than anything else. And I guess it takes time for someone to kind of get into that phase of mind where they will start noticing the smallest detail to then improve it for their business.
If I want to be very, very honest, if I listen to music, I think of SEVA. If I read a book, I think, what can I get out of it? If I watch a movie, I research a lot, I study a lot, I consume a lot of art and history material for my own joy. And at the same time, I see what's possible to express through this platform, through this campus.
Obviously known you for a long time, and you've shared a lot of stories with me. And one of the things that you did as an entrepreneur is you literally left the business for a month, 2 months. You left the business for 2 months and you embarked on a journey to the Amazon jungle, and you stayed there for 2 months completely unreachable. You didn't have your phone. I think the only way to get in contact was through smoke signals, maybe, or through pigeon messages. And for entrepreneurs, that's really tough. Like, most entrepreneurs I know, they are still within their business, not on top of the business. So when you're in the business, you can't really take a day off. When you're on top of the business, you can. But most people are in this phase. And at the time when I was in my business, when you were doing that, I was thinking, I cannot take even 3-4 days out of my schedule just to take a break from my business, let alone 2 months. And I understand why sometimes it's important for entrepreneurs to literally disconnect and reset and go back to the business afterwards. But tell us about your thinking. Why did you want to? Why 2 months? Why complete isolation from the whole world? And when you came out of that experience, what changed?
Yeah. The whole idea was crystallized over a dinner. Let me turn 40 in the jungle, and that was late 2020 and or 2021, and I went there in 2021. I am very, very grateful. I have an amazing friend and teacher and guide and a brother who supported me and guided me over the years prior to that into deepening my understanding with the cosmology of the jungle and the way the work of the jungle is being done from a very authentic and real lineage that is beyond the spiritual tourism that happens nowadays mostly. And I went there for 2 months simply because I couldn't stay longer. I would have loved to stay there for 2 years. It wasn't easy, but it was wonderful. Just prior to that, I was playing with martial arts and jiu-jitsu for quite a while. So I dropped a routine and I went into total chaos in the jungle, which was fascinating. I truly was off the grid. I was in a place that even smoke signals wouldn't make it through the canopy of trees, and how dense the greenery was. And I lived with a family that is within the tribe. It's a very high responsibility and rank, but also is not accessible to the mainstream. Again, thankful to my teacher who opened the door and the possibility and put me in contact with his teacher, with whom I lived. I was with this wonderful, wonderful human being who at that time was 105 years old.
Wow.
Him and his wife, who was 100 years old. And just living with them was a ceremony by itself. I lived in the open. I was on a patio in a bed with a mosquito net. And yeah, there was a lot of training, and there was initially a bigger group of people for a short period of time. And then I was left behind with a family. And I went into, a dieta, special practice, and I was in isolation, no eye contact, no connection with the outside world. And not even within the field. I only had one or two people who were the people I could connect with for a period of a month. I must admit, it felt very natural. I have very strong connection with nature and earth, and it was a beautiful escape. I didn't miss the city. I actually exposed myself to more intense environmental aspects through bugs and insects and so on than the average. I was almost topless all the time. I got bitten by a lot of mosquitoes. I got even had some allergies and so on. And it was even wonderful to witness how I was helped into being treated by natural plants in that time. It was wonderful to watch very, very simple people who appear to be simple. But mind you, I was at that time in the middle of my year-long therapist training as well. So that was a break in between the modules. So we already were trained on reading people, reading the body language, reading the posture and so on. And it was fascinating to watch, because one of the things we pay attention to is the conflict between the pragmatic aspects and the emotional aspects that we are unaware but the body expresses. And those people were wonderfully in synergy and harmony. It was amazing to watch even the feet posture, for example, that doesn't show internal conflicts. They were in rhythm with nature. Of course, they were humans. They had their own drama, their own stories, their own needs, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, they didn't have that noise that comes from being in a very crowded environment.
Yep.
You know, the disconnection from work was only possible because my partner at that time and my team were able to sustain looking after things. Again, that was not easy. From sense of responsibility, from certain interdependency, there was a massive handover and guidelines and so on, and SOPs put together on all what I was looking after. But it went through. You know, looking back, I am very, very grateful. I can't wait for another extended trip, because since then I didn't get to leave the business behind for that while. Yeah.
And when you came back, what was the transition for the business? How were you able to make an impact to the business having had 2 months off? I'm sure that you had a long period of reflection of what you was doing, what kind of things was going on in the business. What kind of things were you able to impact the business as a result of having a break?
It set a different tone into my relationship with the business and my relationship with what I am expressing through SEVA. There are aspects that are very, very private and intimate. They are expressed through the work that we offer, but the intention is private. And at the same time, it made me also reset my relationship and my priorities through experiences I went to in there. For example, I remember at some point I met a medicine man who does readings and protections and prayers and so on. And I was told I will meet this person in advance, and he would ask for photos of important people and things that you would simply show it to him. And I went there with a stack of photos, and I was showing that wonderful teacher and leader photos of my families and the business and then there was my photo. And then he looked at me and he laughed and he told me, it's very obvious that you are very confused about your priorities because your photo was the last. He told me, you are the essence of your life and you need to operate accordingly. And it relates to the saying, you can't serve from an empty cup. Of course, we are told to be selfless. Even the word SEVA is interpreted as selfless act of service. But at the same time, you can't lead from a place of power and ability and stability if you don't look after yourself, first and foremost. And so the flip coin is be selfish and take the world with you, because that's how you can serve better. Can you have deeper impact, long-lasting narrative and story to tell in a way. So that all mapped into how I looked at the business when I returned. How it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all to come back. It took even over a year time of stabilization after the jungle to bring clarity into how can I transmute and distill my experience, which is ongoing until today.
Yeah.
Because it taught me also to act again from values and virtues rather than aiming at achieving outcomes and be goal orientated.
Yeah, that's a very, very good perspective. And I think one thing I'd like to reflect on what you've shared is, when a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't put themselves first. They put others first. They have to, right? Employees, customers, partners, regulations and all of that. But sometimes you have to think about yourself as well, because if you're the driving force of the business, then you need to make sure that you're at a good level where you can contribute and keep the theme of the business running, because you are the center focal point of that. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And as a matter of fact, I want to say you need to be the essence of your life, but at the same time to remove your little self out of the way. Because it's a paradoxical positioning here. Who are you and what is the relationship between us?
Yeah.
And how can I be the best version of myself in my expression while looking after myself, while being real and honest in expressing and offering things of purpose, It takes courage, it takes clarity, and it takes brutal honesty between you and you. What do you want to do? The why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And at the same time, how high is the ceiling you want to play under? What's your goal?
Yeah.
That's very important.
I want to talk about something different now. Now, you went through a short period where you had a life-threatening situation, and you was obviously out of the business for quite some time. And this was quite, not without going into too much detail, obviously, but this was a situation where you literally had to leave the business without planning. So with the jungle retreat, there was some planning, and you were able to plan your SOPs, the team, and prepare them to say, look, I'm going to now step out of the business for a few months, but then I'll come back. This is a situation where you abruptly left the business. There was no knowing when you'll come back, but the business had to keep running. Can you give us some insights in terms of what happened in the business at the time, And what was your feeling when this situation happened? And how were you then able to, how long did it take for you to recover, to get back into the business, to then start making an impact again? What kind of advice would you give to that entrepreneur when they go through that shock and they then have to, business is running, you can't stop it. And especially with SEVA, where you've got customers coming every day. In my business, it's consulting, right? So we don't have a shop front. But with you, you have a shop front and you have people coming in to have courses, to partake in courses, to have food, to, to buy things from there. Tell us about that and what advice you would give to other entrepreneurs.
I don't give advices. And the main reason is I am never under anybody's skin, nor do I have the pair of parents, nor do I have the journey or the belief system. I can only share my story and express my own perception and perspective about it. And then for anybody who listens, they can take their own pieces. I don't believe we should take advices, in my opinion. We should just absorb data and content and see what comes out of it, because nothing beats an experience, a first-hand experience. That's why we call it SEVA Experience. We're not here telling you what to do. We are offering you a space to express yourself through first-hand experience. That incident was a hard reset in many ways. Of course, it affected the business, and at the same time, it was at the time when the business was expanding exponentially. But at the time, it wasn't a priority to see how is it going with the business. It was my priority at the time when I was in the ambulance at 4 a.m. to cancel my meetings that day and tell the team what to do with those people who would show up and so on. And then I switched off the phone. And as a matter of fact, my phone was also not with me. It was under investigation for 2 months after that to find out what happened and so on and so forth. But anyway, the point is, life goes on. We think we are so important. We think we have so much command and power in our hand. And that's part of the illusion that makes our life very difficult. We are so insignificant. One day we're going to close our eyes and we're going to open them again. And we don't know when is that going to be. Yeah. So how can we play the game of living fully today like it's your last day, and planning for tomorrow like the horizon is towards the infinite? It's not easy, but also it gives us the awareness and the understanding of being fully present in every moment. Planning for today and planning for tomorrow. 2 years ago, I read a book about tracking lions in Africa. And it was a beautiful, wonderful book that has a line. I don't know where I am going, but I know exactly how to get there. Because those people understand terrains, understand unpredictable movements in the bushes, understand that the goal or the target is not static, is not fixated. Everything is in motion. So the only thing that we can do is to enhance our stability and flexibility, to look after the next step and the next step and the next step. So this is where you develop your instruments. I had big arguments with one of my seniors long time ago when I was in the corporate about this whole story of 3-year plans and 5-year plans. And, it's a classic. But then you understand that the vision here is to create a framework and a direction. And then you refresh this 5-year plan every year or every 6 months. So you keep it alive, even from a philosophical and esoteric teaching. There was a saying, one of the stories of the Buddha, that he was saying, even if you fall in the right direction. And how do you determine the right direction? Is when you are tuned into your heart, in a way. So you fall, you get up and you walk. You fall, you keep going. This is life. The jungle is not a safe space. We are so confused about aspects and values like peace. We don't use peace. in any of our offerings. We change it and replace it with rhythm. Because if you are walking in the jungle and you twist your ankle, or you fall in a little hole that was under a piece of leaf or a branch, and you break your leg, chances are you're going to be eaten by ants within 48 hours. You know, so and this is our inspiration when we talk about nature, because life is fierce, and there is something about the illusion of softness and softening and cushioning the way we live, niceness. These virtues and these ways of living are confusing us, because there's a big difference between niceness and kindness. There is a big difference between peace and rhythm. You know, there is something about our relationship with conflict and friction. We are avoiding them often, but we don't learn how to maintain the tension without collapsation. Just like when in the jungle there is a predator and a prey, the relationship needs to be two ways, and both packs stay alive. You don't want to protect somebody from the natural course. What we want is to enforce their stability and flexibility into how they express themselves, because you need to express your fierceness in life. That's how you become real. Not good, not bad. These are positions. How you are real, one day you are angry, one day you are very aware, one day you are fogged and confused, one day you are tired and exhausted. How do you position yourself is in accordance to many, many aspects. So stability and flexibility is what we need to enhance in the course of life. And of course, it comes with responsibilities. And that is the test of how strong is your relationship with the pillars that you define your identity with. You know, again, I go back to the reality that we are not significant. We are so unimportant. As a matter of fact, bees are way more important than us on the ecology of what we live, right? And like my teacher, Nir, says, the bee can go from the hive to the flower 100 times a day. Not one moment it will pause and says, why am I here? What's my purpose? What am I going to do if things collapse and so on? But we are full of stories. We need to reduce their importance.
Shadi, you've been an amazing guest, and thank you for sharing your insights, your knowledge, and some of the things you went through in your entrepreneurial career. Tell us what kind of things you're working on. I know you do a million things. So you're a Kundalini yoga instructor, you're doing courses, just came back from Nepal and got me a honey from the Himalayas. So thank you for that. What kind of things are you working on, and how can SEVA help entrepreneurs?
We have an internal line. We say, not a dull day. We are constantly on the go. And what's behind the scenes is far beyond what's being expressed. We are a very small team, and we are running around the clock. I have an amazing general manager who's looking after the big picture right now, and is allowing me in parts to look after my other offerings as a teacher and a therapist, and looking after the vision and the narrative, while he looks after the execution, operations, and so on and so forth. In terms of what we are working on, we have a spree of trainings. The major one starts in May, our major therapist training, as we just finished the recent batch, Generation 3, this weekend. But at the same time, we are already engaged with industry when we talk about clients beyond B2C and just individuals. We are working with businesses. We are offering pragmatic solutions to how can we bring those teachings, those offerings, not only for those who are looking after esoteric knowledge or practicing yoga and breath work for their own, inner journey, but also mapping all this into a very practical and impactful way to look at constellations of how leadership can be more effective. How can it be more real? How can we bring stability and flexibility to the ecosystem of a work environment? The awareness of the regulation of the nervous system, and all these things are things we already do at SEVA in different modalities, but we are now positioning it more and more in the corporate world. So this is one of the major movements that we have this year. Ramadan is coming up very, very soon. So we have an amazing offering in the cafe and the environment with reset plans and new menus and so on and so forth. And in terms of what we can offer to entrepreneurs is nothing but an experience. It's an invitation always to come and don't take our words for it. Have the experience, whether in the cafe, whether in the garden, whether in any of the services we offer. Like I mentioned earlier, we design environments. We are creating a space that is not safe, because safe is controlled. It's rather a supported space. We want people to take risks. We want people to go out of their comfort zone, but we are here to support. When we talk about the ecology, we're talking about the interrelations, and that by itself, being part of it, brings awareness to any entrepreneur to understand how can they take this experience and map it into their vision, into their relationship with their team and their clients, and so on and so forth. I believe we are our relations. It's an old saying, and it's part of the order that we follow. So the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. So that brings, again, Kundalini Yoga is also called the yoga of awareness. I can't bring you anything and inject it into you that enhances your self-awareness than your own breath, your own sound, your own physical movement, your own intention. So this is what we offer. We offer a field for an experience that prompts you a movement, a possibility, because you are the potential of your future self. And so we calculate an environment without having it very rigid, to create a possibility beyond anything else.
Thank you for sharing that. What's the best way our listeners can get in contact with you?
In real life.
So they got to come down to the cafe.
Yes.
And they can come and see you, or book one of your oversubscribed Kundalini yoga courses as well.
I just came from a festival in Abu Dhabi this weekend, teaching a class for hundreds of people, which was a fascinating experience. It's the second year I go to this festival. We don't work in large scale. We like intimate groups. We have a cap for classes, for trainings, because that allows the connection to be more real and visible and intimate and impactful. Of course, we offer things and promote things and share things on our social media, but nothing compares to the real first-hand experience.
Cool. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the 𝗷𝗄preneurs podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating and a review. Your feedback is appreciated. For show notes and more, check the link in the description and connect to me on LinkedIn and search for Rayhan Aleem. See you in the next episode.